Hi, I'm Angie, and you're watching Dontae's Boxing Nation.
Tell motherfucking Eddie. Tell Eddie to send the contract over. You know what I'm saying? I already spoke to Al. Al said, you know what I'm saying? Well, girl, you know, I mean, we have a good business relationship, you know, but you can fight wherever you want. You know, if these guys serious about it, tell them to send you a contract. So send me the contract. I'll fight you for the 1.5. I'm going to beat your little ass, shorty.
Dontae's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Let me start with saying this, man. If you guys haven't seen this interview or this debate, it's a must-see. You guys have to watch it. It's a debate that Bill Haney did with Gary Russell's play brother, Batman. Aki conducted the interview. I'm going to put the link in the description box. You guys have to see this video if you haven't watched it. Now let's get into the recent news. Let's talk about some better news when it comes to Devin Haney versus Gary Russell. You know, it's funny, man, because this has given Gary Russell and Devin Haney, but since Gary Russell has been in the game for a lot longer, let's just focus on him. This whole talking about the Devin Haney versus Gary Russell fight has given Gary Russell more exposure than all of his fights he's had in the past. I mean, there's more hype building this fight than it was when he fought Jojo Diaz, when he fought Vasil Lomachenko, Johnny Gonzalez. He's getting more exposure for this fight that hasn't even happened yet than all of the fights in his career. Because of that, this fight has to happen. And once again, the great news is Devin Haney and Team Haney, they're going to keep pushing for this fight no matter what stipulations, no matter what roadblocks get in the way. So recently, we heard Gary Russell talk about the date. You know, he said he couldn't do the November 7th date. But once again, that's why you have to go back and watch the interview, because the interview, the debate that Bill and Gary Russell's play brother did, you know, it goes through all of that. They touch on all of those points. So once again, you guys have to watch this debate. But I want to give my man Batman some serious constructive criticism. I think it would actually be more wise for them to no longer try to defend the whole situation, because they're making Gary look worse trying to defend it. And when you watch this debate, you'll understand exactly what I mean. I mean, it was so many highlights to point out in this debate, but one that really stood out is when Bill Haney, he asked, because Gary Russell's rep, he kept talking about, you know, their attorney, what he said, whatever. And Bill said, "What's your attorney's name?" He said, "What's your attorney's name so I can talk to him?" And Gary Russell's rep, he didn't want to give him his name. But yet, Bill Haney said, "I'll give you the name of my attorneys." And he started naming his attorneys. So once again, this is just showing you how bad the Haneys want this fight. They're like, well, if someone said this, we want to talk to them directly. So anyway, let's get into what I really want to talk about in this video. You guys already remember the first demand that Gary Russell had was he wanted $2 million to fight Devin Haney. And then he came back and he said, like you heard in the clip, he said, okay, since you accusing me of ducking you, I'll take the 1.5 that you guys offered me. And then, you know, Gary, he didn't like the stipulation where it stated that if he loses, he would have to fight on DAZN. Okay, they removed that stipulation. Then we heard Gary Russell say, you know, now the term sheet, it doesn't guarantee that DAZN and Matchroom are going to buy the fight. We've already heard Eddie Hearn and DAZN's podcast team, but let's just focus on what Eddie Hearn said. He said that Matchroom and DAZN definitely wants to fight because he's Matchroom and he's a partner with DAZN. So he confirmed that DAZN and Matchroom, they definitely want the fight. So then the problem was the actual date, okay? Now, Gary Russell, you know, he's been saying that he can't fight on November 7th. So I say, This is the solution. Now, guys, because, you know, I've been knowing Devin for quite some time, Devin and Bill for quite some time, but since I'm out here in Thailand and Bill doesn't have WhatsApp, we haven't been able to contact each other. We're working on that. You know, he's going to download the app, WhatsApp, and we'll be talking. But I've been talking to Bill through my man Ike. And I told Bill, I said, why don't you guys go ahead and give Gary the date that he wants sometime after you guys take your next fight? Because Gary's already made it clear that he's not going to fight November 7th. So we already know they're not fighting next. They're not fighting against each other in their next fight. That's already a foregone conclusion, right? We already know that Devin's going to fight Gamboa, and there's a very good chance that Gary may fight Javier Fortuna next. That's okay. So guys, let's just forget, just for a minute, let's forget about whose fault this is, the bickering and everything like that, and let's start working on negotiating them facing each other after their next fights. Since we already know that Devin Haney is most likely going to fight Gamboa on November 7th because Gary, he said that he can't make that date. Gary is most likely going to fight Javier Fortuna or someone else. That's already pretty much a foregone conclusion. So I actually had told Bill, well, I speak to Bill through my man Ike, because right now, Bill, he doesn't have WhatsApp and I'm out here in Thailand. So we're trying to communicate. Eventually we'll take care of it. But for now, I'm communicating with Bill through my man Ike. And I told Bill, I said, look, if you guys can't make the fight right now, since Gary Russell wants a different date, why don't you guys start negotiating? First of all, ask Gary Russell, what date does he want after he fights against his next opponent? Once he figures out exactly who he's going to fight and what date, when he's going to fight, so let's just say it's Javier Fortuna. Soon as he figures out what date he's going to fight Javier Fortuna, why don't you guys start negotiating? Ask Gary Russell, what date does he want, assuming he gets past Fortuna. And they can start negotiating right now for that fight. We've already seen a lot of fighters do this, where they negotiate a fight, but they already have another fight scheduled where they have to get past that opponent first. And that's what's stipulated in the contract. Assuming we both get past our next opponent, we're going to face each other on this date, right? We've seen this once again, Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev. They had a 3-fight deal where they had to obviously win their fights. And then if both fighters continue to win, they will fight against each other. So even though you've seen them fight against other opponents, it was already a signed, done deal that they were going to fight against each other. Canelo Alvarez versus Miguel Cotto, same situation. They signed the deal before they actually beat their next opponent. Assuming they beat their next opponent, they would face each other next. So Gary Russell and Devin Haney, they can do the same thing. So now there should be no one debating. There's no reason to even argue anymore about what happened before. Everyone, regardless of who you're rooting for or whatever the case is, everyone should be on the same page right now. Instead of giving Gary Russell a date, ask him what day he wants to fight on, whether it's March or February 2021. Then once he picks a date, send him another term sheet so both fighters can agree to that date. Agree to the new date, agree to the 1.5, and then there should be no more problems, right? Once again, Eddie Hearn, DAZN's Eddie Hearn, he's already confirmed that DAZN wants to fight. He's already confirmed that. You know what I mean? So there should be no problems. That should take care of all of the problems, and all of this can be done within a couple of days. Negotiations should continue right where they left off, because Devin Haney, the Haneys, they've already said they're not letting Gary Russell off the hook. They're going to continue to pursue this fight. So if Gary and Devin take a fight in the next couple of months, then they can start negotiating for them to fight against each other after that fight right now. They can start negotiating for that fight right now. So there's no doubt about it, Gary Russell, he's going to definitely have the 8-week training camp that he said he needs. Devin's going to have that 8-week training camp, and we should have a fight. There should be no more stipulations. There should be no more holding this fight up. Everyone would get what they want. So let's see what Gary Russell says when he's asked the question, when does he want to fight Devin Haney, assuming he gets past his next opponent. Now, we've heard talks that he wanted to fight the day after Christmas and all of that stuff, but regardless if he said that or not, that's obviously going to change because he's going to most likely fight someone else. So if Gary Russell is going to fight Devin Haney, it's most likely going to be early 2021. Let's see what Gary Russell says. Let's see what date he picks. When will he be ready to fight against Devin Haney? But this is good news for all the boxing fans, because once again, the Haneys, they're okay with still fighting him on a different date that they can both agree upon, which once again, they're not going to have a problem or shouldn't have a problem negotiating the next fight, because now Gary Russell is going to get to pick the actual date. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. Basically, you will end up with a haircut shape up or an edge up. What they do is they tattoo small dots that look like hair follicles in the areas where you have lost your hair and then blend it with your existing hair. You can even choose what type of hairline you want, hard shape up or soft and natural finish. And to maintain it, all you gotta do is shave your hair every few days, which is something you already were probably doing anyway. So if you wanna get this hookup for my brothers out there in the UK and Europe, make sure you check out the ScalpThis on Instagram. And for my brothers out there in the States, make sure you go ahead and contact my man Scalp Carolinas on Instagram. And when you go on their pages, you can see for yourself what these guys look like before. I mean, these guys are literally hair magicians. I've never seen anything like this before, but all I can tell you guys is this is a serious game changer for us men. So make sure you get in contact with ScalpThis and Scalp Carolinas on Instagram. You know, I always say on this channel, pay-per-view fights should actually be free. And now the day has come where I'm about to hook you up with an app where you can watch all your pay-per-view events, boxing, UFC, etc. for free. I want to introduce Block TV, the best internet streaming television app out there. They provide over 3,600 channels, including HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, and Stars. They have a massive video on demand library with over 40,000 of the new release movies and the latest TV series. And it also includes DVR. So you're getting all of this for $34.99 a month. And once again, that includes free pay-per-view. So this one right here is a no-brainer, guys, because back in Las Vegas, I was paying damn near $200 a month for my cable. Those days are long gone now. So to get the app, make sure you guys go over to getblocktv.com and put in my promo code and get 30% off your first month. You also get a free month for every friend you refer. The promo code is DBNation.